But let me start at the beginning, because the story of how I became the family's secret financial lifeline and then their worst enemy doesn't start with that text. It starts 6 years earlier, with a phone call and a promise I should never have made. I'm Daniel Carter, and I've been a disappointment to my father since the day I chose community college over his alma mater. Dad played football at State. He wanted me to follow in his footsteps, play ball, join his fraternity, major in business, take over his commercial real estate firm. Instead, I tore my ACL junior year of high school. Scholarship offers disappeared. I enrolled at the local community college to study computer science because it was affordable and I was good at it. Community college, Dad said, like I'd announced I was joining the circus. My son, going to community college. My older brother Marcus went to State, played football, joined Dad's fraternity, graduated with a business degree, and immediately joined Carter and Associates Real Estate. Dad posted about him constantly. My son, following in my footsteps. Couldn't be prouder. I graduated community college, transferred to a state university, and got my bachelor's in computer science. I took a job as a junior developer at a financial services company making $62,000 a year. I was 22 and felt like I'd made it. Dad's reaction at my graduation dinner. Well, at least you finished something. Marcus made a toast about how I'd found my own path, even if it's not the family path. Everyone laughed. Mom squeezed my hand under the table like that was supposed to make it better. I learned to live with being the lesser son, the disappointment, the one who does something with computers while Marcus was continuing the Carter legacy. What they didn't know, what I never told them, was that my something with computers was about to become something much bigger. 6 months into my job at the financial services company, I was assigned to a project optimizing trading algorithms. I was the most junior person on the team, basically there to write documentation and fix bugs. But I noticed something, a pattern in the data that everyone else had missed, an inefficiency in how the algorithm processed certain types of transactions. I spent 3 weeks of my own time, nights and weekends, rebuilding the core logic. I wasn't supposed to. I was junior. I was supposed to document, not innovate. I presented it to my team lead expecting to be told I'd wasted my time. Instead, within 2 months, my optimization had increased trading efficiency by 18%. The company saved $4.3 million in the first quarter alone. I got promoted. Twice. In 6 months. By 24, I was a senior engineer, making $140,000. By 25, I was team lead, making $210,000. By 26, I was offered a position at a hedge fund, making $340,000 plus performance bonuses. My first bonus was $180,000. I didn't tell my family. Why would I? They thought I was some code monkey making 50 grand. They never asked for details. Dad still introduced me as my other son, the computer guy, with this apologetic shrug. So I stayed quiet. I lived modestly. I kept driving my used Toyota. I rented a decent but unremarkable apartment. And I saved everything. Then Dad's business hit trouble. Daniel, I need to talk to you about something serious. It was Mom on the phone, her voice tight with stress. This was unusual. Mom only called on birthdays and holidays. What's wrong? It's your father's business. The market's been difficult. Several deals fell through. We've had some cash flow issues. We might lose the house. The house was their pride. 4,000 square feet in an exclusive neighborhood. Dad had bought it 20 years ago as a symbol of his success. It was where he entertained clients. Where Marcus's engagement party had been held. Where every family holiday happened with Dad holding court like a king. How bad is it? I asked. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank sent a notice. Your father is humiliated. He won't even talk about it. Marcus is helping where he can, but he just bought his own house and had the baby. How much do you need? A pause. Daniel, we can't ask you for money. You're just starting out in your career. How much, Mom? $9,600. To catch up the payments. But Daniel, you don't have to. I'll wire today. Sweetheart, that's so generous. but we'll pay you back as soon as. Don't worry about it. Consider it a gift. I heard her crying with relief. You're saving us, Daniel. Your father doesn't know I called you. He'd be too proud. But you're saving our home. I wired the money that afternoon. $9,600. It barely dented my savings. What I didn't know was that I'd just set a precedent that would define the next 6 years of my life. The next month, Mom called again. The mortgage was due. Dad's business still hadn't recovered. Could I help just this once more? I sent $2,400. The month after that, the same call. And the next month. And the next. Around month 5, I suggested something. Mom, why don't I just set up automatic transfers? I'll cover the mortgage every month until Dad's business stabilizes. You won't have to keep calling and asking. Daniel, that's too much. It's easier this way. For everyone. So I set up the automatic transfers. $2,400 monthly for the mortgage. Then Mom mentioned they were behind on property tax, so I added $600 monthly into an escrow account I managed. Then utilities were being shut off, so I added $450. Then their homeowner's insurance lapsed, so I added $750 quarterly. Average monthly payment, $3,200. I was 26 years old, making $340,000 a year plus bonuses. I could afford it. And it was temporary, right? Just until Dad's business recovered. Except Dad's business never recovered because Dad never knew it needed to. Here's what I learned later. Mom never told Dad the mortgage was being paid. She told him the bank had worked out a special arrangement for them. She told him they'd been approved for some kind of forbearance program. Dad believed her because he wanted to believe her. Because admitting his business was failing meant admitting he was failing, and Richard Carter didn't fail. Meanwhile, Marcus was held up as the golden child who was helping keep the business afloat by bringing in a few small deals here and there. Family dinners became Marcus appreciation events. Marcus closed the Henderson property. Dad would announce, "That's my boy. That's the Carter touch." I'd sit there quietly, eating pot roast, knowing I'd paid for the house we were sitting in, the utilities keeping it warm, the insurance protecting it. But I said nothing. Why didn't I tell them? Pride, maybe. Or maybe I'd spent so long being the disappointment that I'd gotten used to it. Maybe I didn't want to take away the one thing that made Dad happy, believing Marcus was the successful son. Or maybe I was just stupid. When I turned 28, I got promoted again. Senior Portfolio Director. Salary, $480,000. Performance bonuses that ranged from $200,000 to $500,000 annually. I was managing a portfolio worth $3.8 billion. I bought a condo in a nice neighborhood. Paid cash. $680,000. I figured I could finally afford to live like I was actually successful. I didn't tell my family about the promotion or the condo. They didn't ask about my work. Ever. At Thanksgiving that year, Dad asked me exactly one question about my job. Still doing the computer thing? Yeah, Dad. Still doing the computer thing. Well, it's good to have stable employment. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur like Marcus and me. Marcus grinned. Different paths, little brother. Nothing wrong with being an employee. I cut my turkey into smaller and smaller pieces and said nothing. I'd just closed a deal that week that made the fund $47 million. But sure, I was just a stable employee doing the computer thing. The automatic transfers continued. $3,200 every month. Like clockwork. By the time I turned 29, I'd paid $230,400 toward my parents' house and expenses. They thought Marcus was the one holding the family together. It was a Tuesday in March when everything fell apart. I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "We need to talk. Family dinner tonight. 6 p.m. Don't be late." I showed up at 6:15. Traffic was bad. The whole family was there. Mom, Dad, Marcus, Marcus's wife Jennifer, and their 2 kids. Dad was at the head of the table, his face red. "Nice of you to show up." Traffic was. "Sit down." I sat. The tension in the room was suffocating. I'm going to say this once, Dad started. Marcus brought something to my attention today. Something very disturbing about you. I looked at Marcus. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad continued. Apparently, you've been telling people that you're some kind of big-shot financial executive. That you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That you're managing billions. My stomach dropped.
Who told you that?
Marcus ran into your college roommate, Tyler. Tyler was going on and on about your big fancy job, your condo, your salary. Bragging like you're some kind of master of the universe. Dad, I don't brag. So it's true? You've been lying about your job. I haven't been lying. Tyler said you're making nearly $500,000. That's a lie, Daniel. That's a pathetic, desperate lie. We know what you make. You're a programmer. You make maybe 70, 80,000 if you're lucky. And that's fine.
There's no shame in that.
But lying? Pretending to be something you're not? That's embarrassing. That's humiliating to this family. I stared at him. You think I'm lying? Tyler said you paid cash for a condo.
Cash.
Do you know how insane that sounds? How desperate you must seem, making up these stories. I did buy a condo. Stop. Dad held up his hand. Just stop. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. You've always been jealous of Marcus. Always resentful that he's successful and you're not. But this lying, this fantasy life you've created, it ends now. Richard, Mom started, but Dad cut her off. I won't have a liar in this family. I won't have someone who makes up stories to make themselves feel important when they're not. The words hung in the air. So here's what's going to happen, Dad said. You're going to apologize to Marcus for embarrassing him with your lies. You're going to stop spreading these ridiculous stories. And you're going to get your head straight about who you actually are and what you've actually accomplished, which isn't much. I looked around the table. Mom was staring at her plate. Marcus was examining his napkin. Jennifer looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. You want me to apologize, I said slowly, for my actual job. For lying about your job. I'm not lying. I pulled out my phone, pulled up my company email, showed him the signature. Daniel Carter, Senior Portfolio Director. Dad barely glanced at it. Email signatures can say anything. You could make yourself King of England in your email signature. It doesn't make it true. This is insane. What's insane is a 29-year-old programmer pretending to be a finance executive. What's insane is telling people you make $500,000 when you barely clear 70. What's insane is, I make $480,000 in base salary, I said quietly. My bonus last year was $380,000. I manage a $3.8 billion portfolio. I bought my condo for $680,000 cash. And none of that is a lie. The silence was deafening. Then Dad laughed. Actually laughed. You're delusional. You need help, Daniel. Professional help. Richard, maybe we should. Mom tried again.
No.
Dad stood up. I've heard enough. Daniel, you're cut off from this family until you get your head straight. I won't enable this fantasy. I won't watch you embarrass yourself and us with these pathetic lies. He pulled out his phone and typed something. My phone buzzed. The text read, "You're cut off forever. Don't contact us again." I stared at the message. Then I looked up at my father. Understood, I said quietly. I stood up, walked out of that house, got in my car and drove home. And then I made one phone call to my bank. This is Daniel Carter. Account number 4782-9943-2847. I need to cancel all automatic transfers from this account effective immediately. The bank representative confirmed. All automatic transfers?
Yes.
All of them. Just to confirm, Mr. Carter, this includes the monthly transfers of $2,400, $600, $450, and quarterly transfers of $750?
Correct.
Cancel them all. Today. May I ask if you'd like to set up alternative payment arrangements?
No.
Just cancel them. And send me documentation that they've been canceled. Of course. Is there anything else I can help you with? That's all. Thank you. I hung up. Then I sat in my condo, in the silence, and waited. Day 1, nothing. I went to work, closed a deal worth $23 million. Came home, made dinner. Silence. Day 3, nothing. Took a weekend trip to the mountains.
Hiked.
Read a book. My phone stayed quiet. Day 7, nothing. Work was busy. I got praised in a meeting for my portfolio performance. Life continued. Day 10, nothing. I started sleeping better than I had in years. Day 14. My phone rang at 7:32 a.m. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was from First National Bank, Mortgage Department. This is a courtesy call for Richard and Susan Carter regarding past due mortgage payment. Please contact us immediately to avoid late fees and potential default proceedings. I deleted it. Day 16. Another voicemail from the bank. More urgent this time. Day 19. 3 voicemails. The last one mentioned default notice being sent via certified mail. Day 21. Mom called. I didn't answer. Day 23. Marcus called. I didn't answer. Day 25. Dad called. I didn't answer. Day 28. The certified mail was delivered. I knew because I'd set up informed delivery through the post office. I could see the scanned envelope. Notice of default. Urgent. Day 30. My phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Mom's number. I answered. Daniel, what have you done? Mom's voice was shrill, panicked. I could hear Dad yelling in the background. Hello, Mom. The bank is foreclosing. They're taking the house. They say we're 30 days past due, and how is this possible? I don't understand. The special arrangement. The forbearance program. There was no special arrangement, Mom. Silence. Then, what? There was no forbearance program. There was me, paying your mortgage, for 6 years. I heard her gasp.
No.
That's not, you couldn't have, you don't make enough. I make $480,000 a year, Mom.
Plus bonus.
I've been paying your mortgage, $2 for 100 monthly, plus your property tax, utilities, and insurance. $3,200 every month. For 6 years. That's $230,400 total. That's impossible. It's documented. Every transfer. Every payment. I have all the records. Daniel, if this is true. Oh my God. Why didn't you tell us? I did tell you. 2 weeks ago at dinner. Dad called me a liar. Said I was delusional. Said I needed professional help. Then he texted me that I was cut off forever and not to contact the family again. He didn't mean.
He meant it, Mom. So, I did what he asked.
I cut off contact, including the automatic transfers keeping your house afloat. Daniel. Dad's voice now, having grabbed the phone. Fix this right now. Hello, Dad. Don't hello, Dad me. Call the bank. Call them right now and fix this. Fix what? The mortgage. The payments. Whatever you did, undo it. I canceled the automatic transfers from my account, just like you asked me to cut off contact. I didn't mean the payments. You said I was a liar. You said I was delusional. You said I make $70,000 a year and was making up stories about my job. So I figured, hey, if I only make $70,000, I definitely can't afford to pay someone else's $2,400 monthly mortgage plus all their other bills. That would be impossible. Daniel, this isn't funny. You're right. It's not funny. It's actually pretty sad. I spent 6 years paying for your house. 6 years keeping your utilities on. 6 years covering your insurance and property tax. And when I try to tell you about my actual career, you called me a liar and cut me off. So, I guess the question is, why would a lying, delusional programmer making $70,000 a year be paying your bills? Silence. We'll lose the house, Dad said, his voice suddenly small.
Yes.
Probably. Daniel, please. I need to go. As you said, don't contact me again. I hung up. The phone rang immediately. I turned it off. For 3 days, my phone stayed off. I went to work. I lived my life. I felt strangely light, like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally set it down. On day 4, I turned my phone back on. 63 missed calls. 41 voicemails. Dozens of texts. Most were from Mom and Dad, ranging from angry to desperate to begging. But one was from Marcus. Just one text. "We need to talk. I'm sorry. Please." I ignored them all. Then I got an email at work. From Marcus. Subject. I checked. "You were telling the truth." The email read, "Daniel, I called Tyler. Then I called your company. Then I did something I should have done 2 weeks ago. I actually listened. You were telling the truth. About all of it. Your job, your salary, your condo. Everything. And I just reviewed Mom and Dad's bank statements. They asked me to help them figure out the mortgage situation. 6 years of transfers from your account. $230,400 total. You've been paying their mortgage. While Dad called you a disappointment. While I got all the credit for keeping the business going with my tiny deals. While we all treated you like you were barely getting by.
I'm sorry.
I'm so deeply sorry. I should have believed you. I should have questioned Dad instead of backing him up. I should have been a better brother. Dad is in shock. Mom is devastated. They're scrambling to figure out how to save the house. Dad's business is in worse shape than any of us knew. Without your payments, they'll lose everything. I know you have no reason to help them. After how we treated you, I wouldn't help us either. But I'm asking anyway, not for them, for me.
Can we talk?
Marcus. I stared at that email for a long time. Then I wrote back. Marcus, thank you for checking. And for apologizing. But no, we can't talk.
Not yet.
Maybe not ever. For 6 years, I paid their mortgage while being told I was a disappointment. For 6 years, I funded their lifestyle while you got credit for keeping the family afloat with your Carter touch. For 6 years, I stayed silent because I thought I was helping. Then, when I finally told the truth about my success, Dad called me a liar, said I was delusional, and cut me off from the family. Not only did he not believe me, he humiliated me for it. In front of everyone. So no, I won't call the bank. I won't restart the payments. I won't save the house I've been paying for while being treated like a failure. They'll figure it out. Or they won't. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. You want to help them? You're the golden child with the Carter touch. You figure it out. Daniel. I hit send and closed my email. Week 2 after the call. Dad sold his boat. His Lexus. His golf club membership. Week 3. They listed the house. Emergency sale. They needed to sell before foreclosure to save any equity. Week 4. Marcus took out a second mortgage on his own house to help with Dad's business debt. It wasn't enough. Week 6, the house sold. For $150,000 less than it was worth because it was a desperate sale. After paying off the mortgage and bank fees, my parents cleared about $80,000. They moved into a rental townhouse. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. 1,400 square feet. Mom called me crying. Daniel, please. We need you. We're living in a place smaller than your father's old office. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said carefully. Are you? You sound happy about it. I'm not happy, but I'm also not surprised. And I'm definitely not responsible. How can you say that? You cut off the payments. You knew we'd lose the house. Mom, I paid your mortgage for 6 years. 6 years. While being called a disappointment. While being told I was delusional for truthfully describing my career. Dad sent me a text saying I was cut off forever. So I cut off the payments. That's called consequences. We didn't know. That's the problem, Mom. You didn't know because you never asked. Not once in 6 years did you or Dad sit down with me and ask, hey, how's work actually going? What do you do all day? Are you happy? Are you successful? You just assumed I was failing because I didn't follow Dad's path. Your father feels terrible.
Good.
Daniel, what do you want me to say, Mom? That it's okay? That I'll fix everything? I fixed everything for 6 years while being treated like I was barely competent. That's over. So, you'll just abandon your family?
No, Mom.
I'll just stop funding people who think I'm a loser. I hung up. 2 months after losing the house, Dad showed up at my office. My assistant called. Mr. Carter, there's a Richard Carter here to see you. He says he's your father. I almost said to send him away, but curiosity won. Send him in. Dad walked into my corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the harbor, modern furniture worth more than his first car, and stopped. Just stopped and stared. This is your office. Yes. It's bigger than my entire business office was. Yes. He walked to the window, stood there looking out. When he turned back, he looked older than I'd ever seen him. You were telling the truth. I know. About all of it. Your salary, your position, your success. I know. And I called you a liar. You did. He sat down without being invited, put his head in his hands. I've spent 2 months trying to figure out how to say this, practicing in my head, trying to find the right words.
He looked up at me.
I'm sorry doesn't come close to being enough, does it? No, I said honestly. I destroyed my family's financial stability. I lost our home. I humiliated you in front of everyone.
And why?
Because I couldn't accept that my son, the one I dismissed as a disappointment, had become more successful than me. I said nothing. Your brother has been running the numbers. You paid $230,400 over 6 years. You kept us in that house. You kept my business clients from knowing we were failing. You protected my reputation while I destroyed yours. Why are you here, Dad? To apologize. And to ask what we owe you. Not just the money, the $230,400, but interest, payment terms, whatever you want. Marcus is helping me put together a payment plan. I don't want your money. He blinked.
What?
I don't want repayment. Consider it a gift. Consider it the cost of learning who you really are. Daniel. You call me a disappointment for years because I didn't play football and work in real estate. You held Marcus up as the golden child while I quietly became more successful than both of you combined. And when I finally told you the truth, you called me a liar and cut me off. I know. So keep your money, Dad. Use it to rebuild your business. Use it to pay rent. I don't care. But understand this, I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your safety net. I'm not the son you call when you need something fixed. I'm the son you didn't believe in. The son you dismissed. The son you humiliated. You have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, I said, and realized it was true. I'm just done being disappointed by you. He stood up slowly. If there's ever a chance. Maybe.
Someday.
But not today. Today, I need you to leave my office so I can get back to my disappointing computer job where I make barely $70,000 a year.
He winced.
Nodded. Walked to the door. He paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. You should have, I agreed.
He left.
It's been 8 months since that text message. Here's where everyone stands. Dad closed his business. He's working as a commercial real estate agent now for someone else's firm. Making okay money, but not Carter and Associates money. He's humbler. Quieter. Mom works part-time at a boutique. She seems happier, actually. Lighter. Like maintaining the pretense of the big house and the successful business family was exhausting. They're still in the rental townhouse. They'll probably stay there. They can't afford to buy again. Not at their age with Dad's business gone. Marcus is struggling with his second mortgage, but managing. He calls me every few weeks. We have short, awkward conversations. He's trying. I appreciate that, but I'm not ready for more. As for me, I got another promotion. Managing director. $620,000 base salary. I'm 30 years old and managing a $5.2 billion portfolio. I'm dating someone, a lawyer named Sarah, who thinks my family drama is insane but appreciates that I set boundaries. She says I'm impressively self-aware for someone raised by narcissists. I think she might be right. Last week, I got a card in the mail. Dad's handwriting. Inside. I've been going to therapy, learning about why I needed you to fail so I could feel successful. Why I couldn't see your achievements because they highlighted my failures. It's hard work. Probably the hardest work I've ever done. I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to know I'm trying to become someone worthy of having you as a son.
Dad.
I put it on my refrigerator. I'm not ready to call him. Maybe I will be someday. Maybe I won't. But at least he's finally doing the work. Here's what I learned. When someone cuts you off, believe them. But also, let them experience what life is like without you. My father cut me off because he couldn't handle the truth of my success. He cut me off because acknowledging my achievements meant acknowledging his failures. He cut me off because it was easier to call me a liar than to admit he'd been wrong about me for years. So I let him cut me off. And in doing so, I cut off the financial lifeline that had been keeping his entire life afloat. The irony is almost poetic. He cut me off to protect his ego. I cut off the payments to protect my dignity. He lost his house, his business, and his pride. I lost nothing, because you can't lose what you never really had. And I never really had their respect, their belief, or their acknowledgement. But here's what I gained: self-respect. Boundaries. The understanding that love shouldn't require you to make yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. My father texted, "You're cut off forever," because he thought I needed them. He was wrong.
They needed me.
And the moment they lost me was the moment they lost everything I'd been holding up while they weren't looking. Yesterday, I closed the biggest deal of my career. $89 million profit for the fund. My bonus will probably be somewhere around $700,000. I celebrated by taking Sarah to dinner at the nicest restaurant in the city. We ordered champagne. We laughed. We made plans for a trip to Italy in the spring. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Dad saw your name in the financial news. Coverage of your deal."
He cried. Proud tears, he said.
"Wanted me to tell you." I showed Sarah the text. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. I thought about it. About Dad crying. About Marcus playing messenger. About the years of being invisible finally giving way to being seen. "Maybe," I said. "Someday. But not today." "What about today?" Sarah asked. I looked around the restaurant. At the life I'd built. At the success I'd achieved. At the woman across from me, who saw me from the beginning. "Today," I said, "I'm celebrating the fact that I don't need his tears of pride to know I'm successful. I already knew." Sarah raised her glass. "To knowing your worth." I clinked my glass against hers. To knowing my worth. The champagne was excellent. The company was better. And for the first time in my life, my father's opinion, or lack thereof, didn't matter at all.